So we've arrived at that time of the year where we have to discuss the best match of 2024. Now my best match is when I beat Paul Robinson in Progress for the Proteus title. And I know I've been going on about this a lot, and I'm not going to stop either, because as I keep telling you, I'm proud. You can check out that match as well on Triller or on Demand Progress. But listen, these are just my thoughts. These are just my opinions. Please go in the comments and tell me how wrong I am. But otherwise, do the salute of death. And let's run down the best matches of this year. Number 10, Braun Strowman versus Bronson Reed from the September 16th Raw. So this was, of course, the last monster standing. One of the major reasons I want to put it in here is because sometimes when people do these lists, they just get into a pattern. But wrestling comes in many forms, including big men, slapping man meat, and I think we need to give them meat the due. What? But Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed just went in there and were like, we're gonna have the best time ever. And they threw each other into things, they broke the damn ring, people were being thrown over a barricade, people were being thrown out of the announce table, and there was a real sense of dread. It was like, well listen, these are two big monsters, what if one of them makes the other one explode? We would have cheered because wrestling fans are strange. So ultimately, I just thought this was so fun, and I thought it was so entertaining. And I understand what the modern style is. You got 100 miles an hour, and I appreciate that too, but you also have to have a skill set to be able to pull this one off. That's why I wanted to give it some hullabaloo. Also, I thought Bronson Reed had a terrific year, and as ever, when you book Braun Strowman right, he just knows exactly what to do. Why we shouldn't have screwed him up a few years ago. Do you remember when he should have won that Elimination Chamber or whatever the hell it was? We gave it to Roman Reigns instead? I don't know why we're talking about this. So yes, I wanted to slip it in here, which is a horrible, horrible phrase, but this one just lit me up with glee. That's why I watch entertainment on my TV. That rhymes. So it's true. Number 9, Kris Statlander versus Nightingale at All Out. So not only did they have one of the best street fights of the year, but they had to follow and were stuck in the middle of a ridiculous card, but Kris Statlander and Nightingale didn't care. They were like, we've got a story, we've got a heel, we've got a baby face. Oh yeah, by the way, we're really, really good. And they went out there and smashed it. It wasn't just mindless smashing each other with weapons either. This had a real structure to it, and every single crazy thing they did do, well, you felt it. I mean, not as much as them. At one point, Kris Statlander basically did the splits into some thumbtacks. Been thinking about that since August. That must have really hurt. I also think it underlined what a great year Nightingale had, and she is one of the wrestlers of the year, and Kris Statlander is right there too, which is why I hope in 2025, AEW shines a massive spotlight on both of them. Like if Willow became the world champion, and Kris became the TNT champion, or the TBS champion, excuse me, that would make me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. So this really was a home run, and I think it even exceeded expectations to such a degree that afterwards we were all looking around like, where did that come from? But more for us, man, because really, when you do break it right down, when do they not deliver? That's why they totally deserve to be in this list. This was absolutely fantastic. Number 8, Iyo Sky versus Bayley from WrestleMania 40. So honestly, if you want to go through the entire WrestleMania 40 card and just focus on in-ring wrestling, I think this may have been the best match of the entire weekend. In all of 2024, Iyo Sky has just gone, oh yeah, I may be the best women's wrestler in America, so watch me go. And Bayley is just so damn underrated. Like she has this power where you just will her to succeed. She's like the best ever babyface. You give her the sympathy. They were also reversing, transitioning, and just doing all this crazy stuff in the middle of the ring, and the finish is so damn good, especially because before that, you were getting some 1-2 oohs where it actually felt like Iyo was going to win. You can't do that at WrestleMania. The bad guy can't be victorious. I need my babyface to ride like a magical horse. Or something. Of course, that was the extra swish here as well, because Bayley finally got her WrestleMania moment and she became the women's champion. And I will say this, ever since Bayley did get called up from NXT, sometimes she has been booked like a right jabron, which isn't her fault, but here, it just felt so good, man. That's the other point of sports entertainment. You root for your hero, and then they make you feel good. Can't get mad at that. This match ruled. Number 7, the Casino Gauntlet match at All In. Now every time I say this, one person goes, Simon, they didn't invent it. Well, I don't care, man. Whatever AEW did in order to create this matchup, I want to give them a round of applause because I love the casino gauntlet. The best one absolutely came at All In, which went down in London town, which is only a few minutes from my house. It's a wild exaggeration, but it is close because I just thought it was the best version so far. What a wonderful roller coaster. Now, I've said this a few times, it's boring, but AEW should make this its own pay-per-view and make it their Raw Rumble. But think of all the surprises you had here. I mean, Nigel Guinness made his return to the ring, and Ricochet debuted too, and both of those guys also got into it with Okada. At the moment as well, I can't even tell you if the ending was a success because Christian Cage won, and he is still holding on to that contract. But I love Christian Cage, so I have no problem with this at all. I just had such a good time watching this, and it totally cemented the concept for me. So I keep my fingers crossed that we do kind of do less is more in 2025, because if this is what we did come up with when we were doing a big event, then my gosh, we may be in for a super duper whooper good time. Number 6, Will Ospreay versus MJF at All In, or that episode of Dynamite. Pick whichever one you want. Now, yes, William Ospreay is about to pop up in a lot of these matches, but again, William Ospreay is the best at being William Ospreay. And I don't know how people felt deep down when all of a sudden we learned he was going to be feuding with MJF. Mostly because sometimes people go, oh, MJF, he could only talk into a microphone. No, he is good at cutting promos, but you know what else he's really good at? Wrestling. So when they were trading the international title here, and they built this mini story, although MJF did turn it into the American title, I just thought this was great. And again, if we do jump forward to All In, which I was there live for, seeing Will Ospreay win and do it in front of his hometown, whatever the hell you want to call it, and win a championship that he really did put over the top, I just thought it was absolutely fabulous, which is also the name of a silly show. To me, really, as well, this kind of summed up what AEW is meant to be, because MJF was essentially born there in terms of being on a mainstream stage, and while Will had made his name in Japan, the fact that he jumped across and all of a sudden we were getting this, and it was living up to the quality that you would expect, that's some unbelievable pressure. And they nailed it. The other reason I want to sneak it in here is because I think sometimes when we are talking about matches of the year, we do forget about the build and we do forget about the promo. But man, even if we're talking about that Dynamite we did in Cardiff, Wales, both these guys brought their A game. So yeah, I give it 5 stars, or 6.25 stars in the Tokyo Dome, even though neither was in the Tokyo Dome. Go and deal with it. Number 5, Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay at AEW Dynasty. I mean, after this was done, I thought to myself, in terms of purely in-ring action, is this the best match I'd ever seen? So I went and watched it again for this list, and I still stand here and I'm going, you know what? I think it might be. That's the kind of shit we're talking about. I mean, you really do have one of the best wrestlers from the last generation and maybe of all time, taking on one of the best wrestlers right now and maybe of all time, and they just went out there and cooked. This is one of the reasons why I'm happy that AEW is existing, because they do just go, hey man, that's what you do, so you're allowed to go and paint your magic. This was just so damn good. It's probably never going to age. It also has real jeopardy because they do come across as stars. So I was like, okay, well, I assume that Will Ospreay is going to win. But this is the American Dragon Man, and we know that Ospreay has always looked up to him, so maybe he will squeak out the victory. So you just watch the whole thing on tenterhooks, and the last 5 minutes, I tell you, because you don't know what's going to happen here, and it's just 1, 2, ooh, 1, 2, ooh, 1, 2, ooh. Given this was going to be Danielson's last year of full-time wrestling as well, thank goodness we did get to this. I just want to point this out. If it's not for you and you don't like it, well, I don't actually understand, but you're still allowed that opinion. But that is the kind of pedestal I have put this on. Actually better than I was expecting, which is a dumb thing to say, because many people did think it was going to be the best match of all time. So it damn well has to be in lists like this. Number 4, Gunther versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 40. And now we get to go back to WWE and tell you why I love them too, because if you are talking about professional wrestling companies, who does this kind of storytelling better? Because Gunther had held the Intercontinental title for around about 42 years, and Sami Zayn was the underdog from the underground, meaning for about 85% of this match, he got beaten up, he got beaten up, and he got beaten up. I don't know why I'm looking at my wrist. Even if I was wearing a watch, what good would that do? It just meant in the back end when all of a sudden Sami used the sound of the crowd to turn on his offense and even hit that damn brainbuster into Tina the Turnbuckle. Oh my gosh, you just felt it going through all your extremities. Is Sami Zayn actually going to be the guy to beat Gunther? and flub me sideways he was. That just meant you got this incredible ovation from the crowd, and of course we did it on WrestleMania. And look at Sami Zayn's face, which is hopefully on the screen right now. You can't fake that. That's a happy, happy man, and that comes out of the TV, and it smacks you in the face. So we just proved that Gunther is going to go on to be an all-time Hall of Famer in that place, and that Sami Zayn may be the most underrated wrestler they've ever had on their books, and I mean that. To see him become the IC champion, which was a belt that finally meant something again, well, this was for Boo, man. And I just kissed a fake belt. Number 3, Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks at AEW Revolution. So of course, this is probably going to be Sting's last ever match. And it was so good, the next time you want to retire a legend, it should be mandatory to watch this fight. Darby Allin and the Young Bucks just go out of their way to turn this into something to remember too. And they were throwing themselves through glass. This is also where we can sneak in some praise for Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. You can say whatever you want about those two, but my gosh, they may be the best at making other people look good. This is Sting, he's always gonna look good. It just had so much drama and emotion to it, especially because Darby and Sting did hold on to the tag team titles. And let's not forget, backstage, Steve Borden was arguing he should lose because he wanted to do the time-honored tradition. But Tony Khan and everyone else like, no, nobody has ever treated you right. You are going out on a high. And thank goodness we did do this, because when the bell did go ding-ding, I had water coming out of my seeing devices. So if wrestling is about the memories it does leave you with, of course it has to get in the list. I go back and watch this all the time because you can feel the love in the room. And Sting is one of the best wrestlers of all time, and like I say, this was the perfect send-off. It's absolutely fantastic. Number 2, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. So this kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier, but you had 2 super duper whooper stars, you had the WWE title, and for the last half of this match, no one fights. People just turn up and they hang out in the ring. That is not a bad thing though, and it's something I absolutely love from WWE, because you had John Cena, you had Seth Rollins, who for some reason was on his Shield gear, you had Jey Uso, and you had The Rock and the flipping Undertaker. As much as I appreciate the dead man, if it had been Stone Cold Steve Austin in that position, I may be looking at you right now and saying, this is my favorite match of all time. Because it just sums up what sports entertainment is supposed to be. And of course, how does it end? Cody Rhodes becoming the champion and finishing his story. I know that became a little bit laborious towards the end, but given we had everything with the Cody crybabies and that this almost became The Rock versus Roman Reigns, well, I tell you, man, this hits you right in the good place. I also think it's not mentioned enough that Roman and Cody have wonderful chemistry together and a pretty good damn feud. That's why when we got to Bad Blood and we did that tag team match, they were still able to have this, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen between them? Because you assume they're friends, but they also feel like enemies. So it really is WWE at its best, and if they were able to pull this off every single year when it came to the WrestleMania main event, well, ain't no one ever gonna complain about it. This was super. Number 1, Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson at AEW All In. Ultimately though, I did have to pick this one as my favorite match of the year because of course, while his last match ever was against Jon Moxley a month later, Bryan Danielson was murdered during that fight. So let's focus on when he did win the AEW World title, and we all thought, man, isn't this just the best? You also have to give a shout out to Swerve Strickland, who just had an amazing 2024 and totally understood the assignment. Be a bad guy, rag on Bryan's family, who was at ringside, but ultimately get kneed in the face, take the 1, 2, 3, and allow one of the best wrestlers ever to have their due. Once again, Danielson had to be talked into this because he is an absolute maniac, because of course this was the right thing to do. Everybody just wanted to see him on top of the mountain one last time. And the fact this was 10 years after WrestleMania 30, well, hot dang, who came up with that one? The match itself is a work of art as well because it just keeps you guessing and is all over the place. Seriously, some of the stomps that Swerve was giving him towards the end, I think he must have owed him money or he wanted to eat his brains. So it just comes down to the fact for like the 7th time on this list that you did have a match that had to close a massive show and somebody took a home run or 2 people took it and they smashed that ball out of the park. I really do think this is wonderful and it reminded me why I love professional wrestling. Now once again, I can smile when I go to sleep. Shouldn't have said that. Now, of course, more importantly than all of this is your 10 best matches of the year, so leave them in the comments below and argue between yourselves. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is probably my 10 best wrestlers of 2024, or another list as we do close out this year. But others, my friends, thank you for joining me. I'll see you in 2025. Love you lots. Adios.